Hi, and welcome to this video workshop, Online Delivery Best Practices from Distributed Learning. In this session, we're going to talk about chunking. In our experience preparing online courses for continuing education, chunking is one of the most important things we do, and the chunking document is one we refer to over and over again during the process. So as instructors, when we think about how we prepare to teach courses successfully, we know there are many components. And some of these might be structure, information presentation, interaction and communication, exploration, guided practice with feedback, and evaluation. And when we talk about chunking, we're referring to the structure part, planning the structure of the course, how it's laid out. Chunking is dividing the learning content into units or chunks that are a manageable size for the students to digest. You do the exact same thing when you're preparing a course for the classroom. You look at the curriculum standard and course competencies to see what you have to cover and what the students have to be able to do. And then you look at the course materials, and then you lay out your course. And you say, we're going to do this first and then that, and you get some kind of an idea of how long you're going to spend on each thing and the activities and assignments you're going to do. Now online, this is even more important. Planning is such an important part of preparing online courses, partly because of the time it takes to prepare the online resources when you have to make things yourself, and partly because most of the preparation has to be done in advance, since when the course starts, you're spending so much time interacting with and supporting the students one-on-one that you don't have a lot of time for development then. Here's an example of a chunking document. We'll talk about this one and then look at a blank template and discuss the process itself. And this is a chunking document for Math 1208, and when you're chunking your course, you're going to make sure that you have the curriculum specification right there with you and refer to it often. So at the top of the chunking document, we have the course outcome. And this comes straight out of the curriculum document. So if I look at the course outline here, it gives me the course outcome from the curriculum specification, which is to apply basic mathematical computations to solve trade-related problems. And that's exactly what we've put right up here at the top of the chunking document. This is going to remind us throughout the chunking process that all of these topics have to be applied in a trades context. Below that, we're going to list the course modules. Now, we don't know what those are going to be yet, so we'll probably go back and do that at the end once we know what the modules are. When you plan or chunk your course, you might do it differently from this one because instructors have different approaches that work for them. And you can see that here we've decided that the first module is going to be whole numbers. Next, we come up with a goal for the module, and the goal should be derived from and contribute to a curriculum competency. Now try to resist having multiple goals. I think it's important to have one overarching goal that unifies the module. If you're leaning towards multiple goals, and sometimes I've seen people write a number of them, then think about what unites them and write a goal at a higher level, always referring to the course competencies. Now you can see in this case, the goal is to add, subtract, multiply, or divide whole numbers, which as it happens is exactly the same as the competency from the curriculum. Then I'm going to list the topics or lessons that I plan to cover in that module. Now the next competency in the curriculum is integers, but I prefer not to do that yet. And I also prefer not to do fractions yet, although I know a lot of instructors do. Personally, I prefer to follow whole numbers with decimals because I find that the operations are largely the same and I feel like it's a good introduction to fractional numbers. So we're going to do decimals, and we have a goal here that is very closely related to the curriculum competency, and here is our list of lessons or topics. Next in the chunking document, we've put fractions. Now, I know if we go back and look at the course competencies, you'll see there's only one competency about fractions. But I find that my students have a lot of trouble with fractions. So I'm going to break it down into two modules. And the first is going to cover basic fractions concepts and adding and subtracting fractions. And then the second one will cover fractions operations and more complex topics. And we're doing this for a couple of reasons. First, we expect the students to spend a little longer on this, so it needs to be spread out over two modules. Secondly, there are more small topics, and like chapters in a book, the modules or chunks should be similar in size and depth. And third, because I feel this is a problem area for students, I want to assess their achievement in getting the fundamental topics before they go on to the things that are more advanced, so I can help them if they're having trouble and help them succeed. So in this case, we divided one competency into two modules. But in other cases, we might do things the other way around. So for example, looking at the curriculum, here is a competency that says to use calculators. Now we're not going to have a module on using calculators separately in the course. Instead, we're going to integrate calculator use in all the modules. So for example then, in the fractions modules, we look at how to use the fractions functions of some calculators. So two other competencies in the curriculum are to convert between fractions and decimals or percentages, and to convert between decimals and percentages. Now, these are smaller topics, and they're very similar. So in the chunking, we've decided to integrate these into the percentages module. I also think this makes a better connection between the subjects of fractions and decimals and percentages. You'll also see here when you look at the topics under the percents module that we haven't talked about absolutely everything to do with percentages, but just those things related to the course competencies. So chunking is where we lay out our courses. And again, I'd like to reiterate that close attention to the course competencies is very important. Early on in continuing education, we used to think of a module and chunking as laying out the work students might do in a week. And although you still will see some continuing education courses laid out this way, it isn't that way anymore. Modules need to be unified units of content with activities and assessments, but courses need to be flexible so they can be adapted to different duration. And this modular approach allows that. So for example, here in Math 1089, when we look at the course schedule, you can see that it's divided over 10 weeks for this continuing education delivery. There are 8 modules in total, and you can see here in the middle there is a week for review before the midterm, and there's actually a week at the end for review as well during the final exam, or before the final exam. But this course was actually originally delivered over 12 weeks, and so it can be arranged differently, and it's been done in 15 weeks and in 8. We just changed the course schedule. Now, since the workload doesn't change, obviously it's more intense in a shorter period, but it's flexible. Now, here's another course. The Fundamentals of Web Design course is 16 modules, and we deliver it over 16 weeks through continuing education. Now, most of our students in this course are true continuing education students, often people who want to build a website for their business. And we spread it out so it won't be too intense and they can take their time and enjoy the learning. But even then, it isn't one module per week. So if you look at the course schedule, you can see that in some weeks we do 2 modules. And then partway through, they're working on a midterm project or assignment and they don't do one. And then in the last 3 weeks, there are no modules because they're working on a final project. It would be no problem, however, to change the course to complete the course over a different period. You just change the course schedule. Finally, let's quickly review our chunking template document, which is available for download in the description below this YouTube video, just as it is with our other videos. At the top is the course outcome, which you take straight from the curriculum document, and keep that in mind throughout your development. The list of modules you're going to make at the end once you've decided what the modules will be. Looking at the curriculum competencies, you're going to lay out the course into units or chunks, just like you would in class. Give each module a title. Each module should have a goal, which should reflect a course competency. List the lessons or topics that make up that module. And finally, brainstorm and list activities you'll do as part of the module. I know we haven't discussed these much yet, but to quote Professor Liz Burge from UNB, the activities don't supplement the learning, they are the learning. In other words, the information we give students in the modules is the content, but what counts is what they do with it, how they apply, discuss, practice, or demonstrate it. So that's chunking. The curriculum tells us what should be taught, but it's the instructor's role to structure and present that learning for the students, which is what chunking is all about. As you prepare your chunking document, expect to make revisions. This takes time and often research to do it well. Don't be surprised if, as you go along, you find yourself making changes. A module turns out to be too long and you decide to divide it into two, or you find yourself adding topics to a module and then you realize they don't really align with the course competencies, so you have to take them out. When you're done, however, you have a map of your course and you're ready to start building. Chunking is a living document. As you're building the course, it's likely you're going to have new ideas or think of things that might work better or should be rearranged, and then you're going to go back to the document and make changes. Nonetheless, in continuing education, we find chunking to be an invaluable tool. With it, we have a plan, a vision of what the whole course will look like, and it makes the development so much easier.